Newly released court documents finally reveal who broke down the door to Ruby Franke's family home and where her children were the day of her arrest.
My gosh, you guys, having kids is so much fun.
Law&Crime Network has covered the story extensively since it broke in late August, when YouTube mom Ruby Franke was arrested in southern Utah. Her business partner Jody Hildebrandt was also arrested after Franke's 12-year-old son broke free from her home. A neighbor called 911 reporting the boy was emaciated with duct tape around his wrists and ankles.
This kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
When first responders arrived on the scene, 2 of Franke's children were taken to the hospital in need of immediate care.
Hey, 314, the wounds on his leg are pretty good. 12X511, 314, medical's gonna transport him, said that his wounds are in need of immediate care.
Ruby Franke rose to fame on the now defunct YouTube channel 8 Passengers. She documented her life with husband Kevin Franke and their 6 children.
Eve has been amazingly well behaved for being in town.
But you yelled at me.
Shh. The fact that I yell at my kids is a secret. We don't want our viewers to know.
Franke eventually began collaborating with Hildebrandt as part of Connections, a self-help organization for families.
Anytime you think I want, fill in the blank, I don't care what it is, that is not love. Love is a gift that you offer because you have generated it inside yourself. And how do you generate love? Well, the only way to generate love is you use your agency to choose principles of truth.
According to local Utah TV stations, it was another Connections member who was taking care of 2 of Franke's children when she was arrested. Court documents state Pam Botcher, listed as the president of Connections, picked up 2 of Franke's kids in northern Utah at the time of her arrest. Franke and Hildebrandt were arrested in Washington County in the southern part of the state, but the Franke family home is in Utah County, about 4 hours north. That's where court documents say surveillance video showed Botcher pick up the 2 kids. She later told police that she, quote, received a call from Ruby Franke, who told her that she had a family emergency and asked if Botcher could pick up the kids. But before police tracked down the children, they went to the family home in Springville. Later, police obtained a search warrant for the Franke family home, knocking down the front door. But for weeks, that taped-up front door was a mystery. Law&Crime Network even reported on it.
Now with a taped-up front door, this is the family home where the Frankes once lived.
While on location in Utah, we sat down with Randy Kester, attorney for Kevin Franke. When asked about the door, Kester said this.
I know that somehow during the process of all this going on with the police and other family members and who knows, someone apparently broke the door. So he hasn't been able to get it replaced yet. He's in that process, but yeah, so he's probably got tape on it.
At the time of the interview in early September, Kester said he wasn't sure if someone broke into the family home. Somebody broke in?
Well, they broke the door. I don't know if someone broke in. I mean, family members have had access to the home, so I don't think they had any reason to kick the door down, but someone broke the door.
Prior to Franke and Hildebrandt's arrests, Kevin Franke says he'd been estranged from his wife. His attorney says Kevin hadn't seen the kids in months and wasn't even aware they were in southern Utah.
Kevin very much loved his children and loved his wife and had a strong bond, an exceptionally strong bond with all of his kids. You've seen pictures of their family together. He was involved in all sorts of activities. He was a great dad. But Ruby felt like there were differences in their marriage, and at one point, in conjunction with Jody Hildebrandt, it was sort of like, we have to separate to save our marriage. You know, we'll keep working on our marriage, but for now, you know, if we're gonna repair our marriage and be back together as a family, you have to be away, and you have to work on yourself. And don't have contact with the kids, don't have contact with me unless I initiate it.
During the interview, Kester also told us Kevin Franke hadn't been living in the family home for more than a year, so he was unaware of what happened to the door.
I honestly don't know. He doesn't know. He wasn't there. He didn't know. None of the neighbors have reported that anyone came over, that they saw anyone just damaging the door. So he just honestly doesn't know. No one's told him.
Was anything missing from inside the house?
Well, I think some of the kids, the older kids, were in the home. So to his knowledge, he hadn't lived there for 13 months. So he doesn't know what was there. You know, he hasn't told me that he saw anything missing other than some personal papers. But other than that, he hasn't reported to me that anything was stolen. We've had this discussion and he says, I don't have any proof, solid proof of who did it. All he knows is he's got to get it fixed again, and it was quite expensive.
Yeah, looks like a nice door.
You said it has to get fixed again. Was it broken prior to this?
No.
Oh, just
No.
get it fixed.
Get it fixed.
Yeah, okay.
Good catch.
But according to local reports, Kevin Franke allegedly reported electronics missing from the home. An officer's statement reads in part, quote, Kevin stated that Sherry, his oldest daughter, was not allowed in the home and that he believes she entered unlawfully and he wants her charged with burglary. But according to a statement from Randy Kester this week, that's not the case. Kester told Law&Crime Network Kevin and Sherry are, quote, working together on bygones and resuming a loving and healthy father-daughter relationship. Kester went on to say, quote, he is daily, nonetheless, enduring and devoting his time and effort into doing what's best for his kids, following the guidance of real professionals and hoping to put back together in a healthy and fostering environment. These statements echo what Kester told us in person.
There's a lot to be told. There's a lot of chapters in this book, and the more I dig into it, the more I've said this before and I'll say it again, I think that Jody is in the middle of all this, and I describe her as an onion with an octopus inside. The more layers you peel back about Jody's life and connections, every time you peel back a layer, an octopus tentacle comes springing out. There's a lot to be told. This is a fascinating and tragic event in their lives, and will probably have lifelong effects. It's gonna take him a long time to help these kids get through this, the trauma that's been perpetrated on them, and but he's up to it, and he's dedicated to doing it.
As for items that may have been missing from the family home, Kester told us, quote, I know that when Kevin moved back into the house, the front door was broken and the house was a mess, with a lot of items missing. But as for any charges, Kester said, quote, I don't know if Kevin reported any stolen items, but I know for certain that he did not file any charges against anyone. Meanwhile, Kester said his client is working to regain custody of his children. He says Kevin Franke will address the media, but only once he's been reunited with his children. Reporting for Law&Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.